We all settled?
Oh, you got it.
I guess I'll call us to order and review minutes from last month's meeting.
Just a question since I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Which trout stream on Dundee Road was Rick talking about in the restoration efforts?
It is the
I like the fish.
It comes off Tin Mountain, so he gave us a map. It
Oh,
was
okay.
really cool.
The one that comes from the little trout pond there that goes down by the old trout pond.
No, it exits, it's the brook where there were the concrete barriers up that had washed out, so upstream of that.
The one that feeds into the brook, to the bridge, just
Okay,
above Foster's.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's 3 tributaries up there, so
Yeah,
That was a really
the
cool
middle one in
presentation of that.
particular, I'd have to see the map again.
yeah.
And who's Vanderpool again, and who's he work for?
He's a
This-
wetland scientist.
And he works for himself or other?
Is, yeah.
For himself.
He's taught before, but he's a private consultant right now. But he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah, it was really interesting, yeah. So then you got the walk done before the 4th?
95%. And I had that map, but I didn't have a chance to stop and grab my papers before I came here, so I can bring that to the next meeting.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
Mm.
I know the stream you're talking about, yeah.
But they're gonna drop like, it's really interesting, they said there's like 1 to 1.5% wood there now, they're gonna drop it to 10% every so many
Every
years.
100, 200 yards.
I've been involved with those studies. They've done none of that, like on Nash Stream, and so it's quite effective actually.
They're also gonna do a shop, they bring the backpacks and
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
happens.
Is there a motion to,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
is there a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Prospect Farm.
I will contact Jim Innes. I'm away this coming week, and then I'm away from the 14th to the 24th. So I'll send him an email. My guess is it'll take him a while to get a crew to get out there to move it. And once I get that, I'll also touch bases with the highway department. But I know the highway department's short of staff right now.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have the sign for the additional parking.
Oh, the
There's
additional
already
parking
made.
side?
Yep.
Let's go.
Okay. You have anything on Prospect Farm? Okay. Pam?
Still growing.
A lot of families up there with their kids on bikes.
Yeah, that's become a more popular bike.
Yeah.
Well, it's safe.
It's just safe, yeah.
Yeah.
I go up there with my dog frequently, and
Mm.
almost every time I run into a family.
Yeah.
Okay. Jackson Falls. We received an invoice for the signs that Ken has brought samples of. They look really nice for.
There's 19 of the no parking, and then one each of these guys.
Sweet.
And I got the screws, all we need is the post.
Um, Would you like to see them, Fern?
Sure, yeah. Got it.
Just, okay, so posts, did you?
Yeah, I reached out to Gary Spears. He gave me a contact. I didn't have any luck with it up in Whitefield. I did find another company out of Vermont that does a 4x4 white cedar. If that's something, 2 different grades. I don't have a price currently. I reached out to White Mountain Lumber. They didn't have anything, and they didn't plan to get anything in
Okay.
for white cedar. Cedar's kind of the price is really quite high for a lot of it. At least the red cedar, so a lot of yards aren't even keeping it in stock, or they've let their stock go down.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure. In talking to Gary, there wasn't much yet at the time. He would be interested in helping, in terms of how we decide what we're going to use and install. But the type of post that he currently is using wouldn't work that well for putting these posts.
Okay.
Like the fence style.
Which are more square?
They're more.
I'm sorry, rectangular.
Yeah, they're just more wild too.
They're wider and
Just irregular. Sometimes lengths don't work out all that great in terms of the height where you're putting them. They're too short once you bury.
okay.
To really have a sign be at the height you typically would have that. At least that was part of our conversation.
So I guess in terms of moving forward, do you think it makes more sense just to move towards the 4x4 pressure treated?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
I mean, unless someone else has come up with something, but that's.
No, I
it
think
wasn't.
we've looked into
Yeah.
the good possibilities, but we know that pressure treated is going to last as long as I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And these all outlast pressure treated.
I might.
The signs.
Yeah, the signs.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are all pre-drilled, ready to go. I got the screws for them.
Are they stainless screws or?
To be honest, Dick, I didn't even look, but John Higgins, who used to run a machine shop, is the guy that made these. He makes the signs for ski touring, and he's pretty particular about everything. And that's what they're using they're using the pressure treated 4x4, and then they just drop these in. If you're out on the trails, you'll see these.
It's just that pressure treated can eat through some screws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just gave me a box of screws, the same guy.
Okay.
Easy to confirm.
And I went by the falls today and just took a look. Some of the posts I think we can put between where the safety exit is, just above the parking, where the fire department can get down to help somebody if they get hurt. Then we have a fence that goes up pretty much to where the handicap parking is. We can put these posts right up against the post of the fence. That sets them back far enough so that the snowplow won't knock them down. Because some of those, I think, are knocked down right now just because the snow gets pushed in there during the winter. So we do want to set them back. Just put them right on, right beside those posts going up.
It's a trade-off of putting the posts out where people park so they can't.
Yeah.
And then protecting the posts, by putting them back.
Right.
So I would certainly rather they were back
I think so.
and hope that that's effective.
Yeah. I mean, if they can't read this.
Right. So in thinking about alternative, so if we were to butt them to the fence, would we tie them to the fence or anchor them?
I think you'd want to dig it down some depth and then probably tie it on. Not everyone is going to be able to go on a fence post, but I think there's a subset of them that can.
Okay.
once you get from the handicap all the way up to the porta potty and going out Valley Cross, there's no fence.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, one of the things I was thinking about, which kind of helps address what you were talking about, is if we had kind of a precast concrete base that we could move, that would be heavy, wouldn't have to dig any holes, and then move them back in the fall. But then that way, they have them out on the road.
Right.
But then,
And those,
if we can move
they would
them,
weigh a ton. These are heavy, your concrete base is heavy, and your 4x4 is heavy. And you'd have to have that base pretty broad
Yeah. we
to
wouldn't-
hold these up. I would
don't think you
discourage
could-
that.
right. I don't think you'd very easily move it, but it could be done. But
Yeah.
it's still, it's a effort.
And I get around to something that requires volunteer year after year after year to move it.
Yeah.
I question the wisdom of it.
okay.
You have dedicated souls for the first year or two, and then they fade.
Well, it might not look very plumb
Yeah.
too. It might look kind of, well,
And then are the signs gonna be square to the road? Are they gonna be,
The same as, I mean, my recommendation would be the same as the way the signs are right now, so,
parallel.
well, yeah,
parallel to the road?
yeah.
And the river, yeah.
Which is the standard way that most no parkings are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they'd be visible both directions of
Right.
traffic.
The police will still have probably, because they put them up, the no parking on the private property on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
They have put those up already. And the lot was full when I came down.
Okay.
Like, if I try to picture the signs on the other side of the fence, it feels like they're potentially not as effective in my mind, but
Actually,
It does make
go and take a
sense.
look. The fence is running, I don't mean on the other side. It would be, I mean, we don't have to do that, but I was taking a look at the distance back
Mhm.
and pretty much where the snow gets pushed
Right.
each winter.
yeah.
And it's clear vision pretty much.
Mhm.
And those fence posts are about this tall.
Mhm.
Obviously, the signs are gonna be up
Okay, yeah, yeah.
up higher. You're not gonna put them right on the sign,
Right.
on the post
Right.
itself.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, and that section is close to that, yeah, it's kind of a high line there, and then the low line.
If they can't see and read those, if these things are 3 or 4 feet above the fence,
Yeah,
and they can't see
yeah,
and
I
read
think,
it,
okay.
yeah.
I wasn't sure you meant like substantially higher and all that, but that makes sense.
And
Is
they'd be attached to the fence?
No, they'd be attached to a 4x4, but you could put the 4x4 right
So you're
next.
still,
use-
you're still gonna dig a hole?
use
for
the
the
fence
You
four by
have
as
to dig a hole.
But also limiting disturbance of any roots.
I looked at that, I don't think that's a serious issue.
Well, it is in the way that it is a disturbance, but you can disturb, so it's just minimizing where the disturbances occur. So rather having holes spread out along the fence line, if we can minimize penetrations.
Yeah.
Because
between the road and the fence is where you have all that sort of sandy stuff anyways,
Yeah.
that comes in each year from the snow plowing and the sanding.
So
It's
berm,
kind of a devegetated zone as you get along much of the road out here.
yeah. Well, I mean, just, you don't have to have such a secure footing if you have the fence as a stabilizer, you know, you're gonna
Right.
have effectively 2 to 3 points of contact, which is much better than,
And you don't have to dig the holes right at a post, you could do it halfway in between, in
using,
its own hole.
Yeah.
That way you don't disturb
yeah,
the fence post. And still fasten it, wire it to the fence.
To the
I
fence, yeah.
think you bolt it.
You may have to because you'll run into rock or something.
Right,
Yeah,
I think you'd wanna use a fastener to attach it,
that'd be great.
you know, I wouldn't I mean, I think you wanna, not through bolt it,
Gerks.
but lag bolt, yes.
through locks.
I don't know how stable that fence is, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, then we'd be helping it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would be,
yeah.
yeah, well, we'll have to see, I mean, I guess it's, I might go by there after the meeting.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise, originally we would have been digging new holes and having them placed.
Yeah, well, I guess, I don't know a good place to kind of shoehorn your discussion in here, or,
Well,
because there's a lot of points that I want to respond to, so, I mean, I guess, if you have anything to input on this.
Well, you know, the person felt very strongly about digging more holes because it would affect the tree roots. So they were just asking if there was some other way to put the signs up without necessarily digging a whole bunch of holes, deep holes.
And we're,
That would be some kind of base.
yeah.
Right, like if need be, footing, stone, whatever. I think oftentimes he drives a piece of steel and then fastens to it.
Is there any ledge in that area, or
Yeah,
it's kind of all over the place, so?
yeah.
The falls of ledge.
Well, I just mean
Yeah.
up on that, if, when they did the fence, did they encounter ledge?
Yeah, several of those are traditional footing. I think he bolted onto something that he attached a piece of steel to.
Because that's how the kiosk is. The kiosk is or rebarred into the ledge.
Right.
My guess is we're gonna be challenged digging the holes because we're gonna run into rock frequently there.
So do you have a backup plan for when you run into rock, or you just gonna make
You
it
move
move?
left or right.
Well, if it's, I mean, like, that's why, I mean, like, getting into ledge, if it's solid ledge versus broken up rubble, like, if
Yeah.
we can hit ledge, that's great, and we can drill that and anchor to that, that's better than,
Yeah, I believe what Gary's been doing, or something I've done, is you would drill a hole, put a piece of, like a steel rod in, and drill out your post and drop it over that. So you're not
Okay.
digging, you're not trying to move the rock, you're
Yeah,
using
that
the
gives
ledge as your footing.
A lot of stability.
Yeah, so it's not much impact. It all depends on what you're gonna run into. You're gonna run into all three of the different scenarios. Loose rock.
I'm gonna say,
dirt.
does that create a hinge point, or,
And the fence is being held that way in some places.
okay. Well, I guess there was a couple of points that if when the fence was installed, the objections were disturbing tree roots that the complaints came in about. Did they dig them by hand or did they auger them?
I can't remember, I think it was a combination.
Okay. And did they have like an auger on the Bobcat?
I know, I can't remember.
Okay.
Don't believe it was that. I don't remember there being a heavy equipment, but it happened pretty quick.
The person I spoke to said there was heavy equipment. Not sure what that meant, but
But I think where he or she was referring to, I thought what the town just did or the state just did for maintenance. And
I think it was observing the post put into the fence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all this kind of folds into future conversations that we're going to have with our management plan, because that could be a key point in establishing how work is done there. And I don't want to take tools off of the table that effectively limit us to not being able to do anything there, because I guess the balance is that the directive that we got from, not the directive, but the suggestion from the consultant was to limit traffic at the falls, limit parking at the falls, which is an overriding, like, if we have to achieve that goal through using a piece of machinery one day that will save future years of impact, I feel like that has a far heavier in our balance of trying to weigh how we do things at the falls. I mean, I prefer doing things without machinery just because technically we need to have a permit if we have machinery working down there because we're so close to the river. Like that would fall under DES shoreline protection. I don't know if where it's that close to the road, but
Right,
you know,
it's like a snowplow.
I think almost every one of these, and I just casually looked at it when I came down, is you're gonna be backing up and working to put these down, not by going on any of the trails or anything.
yeah.
You're gonna be on the road or on the edge of the road, but you're not actually getting out onto the vegetation. You can back in and do every one of these, I think,
Yeah,
from the road, so it's not like we're trying to drive equipment down along the trails and then try to do work.
Right. They bring
We're
up
doing
any-
it off the zone, it gets heavily impacted.
well, that was addressing the point I came up with the moratorium, which was in areas that are not impacted, trail-wise, like taking that tool off of the table in a place that is already impacted by vehicle traffic, which is what we're trying to stop.
We're already using a Bobcat to help us move wood chips.
That also, which
I think we're all thankful.
I thank Bob for his volunteering that, but I think we could have managed that with the wheelbarrow and more people, but
Or the sod, actually, it wasn't the wood chips, I think he was helping us with sod.
yes, all of those things. So I feel like there was a couple of other points in there that we have no control over. We have no control over how the state maintains their right-of-way on the road or how the electric co-op does their trimming.
Right, you're referring to the letter at this point, though.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to shoehorn into future management. Like if this is going to be something that comes up constantly, it's something that we can put in our management document that can go to town meeting and get voted on and say the town has spoken on this, and people can have the opportunity to weigh in on that in the public forum. But if this is something that we're going to constantly be coming back to, I would just like to be able to provide an answer or point to the document. This is our directive, because otherwise we're just going to keep on tacking back and forth.
I still think it's, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness, I just think it's a good point to consider, you know, what are the downsides of what we're doing? Because we're all like, yeah, let's do 4x4s, and then somebody's like, no, because of blah, 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 so we consider.
Well,
It makes us consider what effect we're having.
Well, we know that the fence that we put in has done a great job.
and didn't kill any trees.
Right.
I think sometimes we have people who worry too much.
I mean, personally, I would say let's put no signs up. You know, but people are gonna park everywhere and people will complain about that.
We could
Right,
have
so,
put the same signs
I
that they
mean,
put on the
I
other side of the
don't, I
road.
think the conversation sort of is silly in the sense that it has to look nice, look professional, be something you wanna look at, yet your hands are gonna be tied to being able to do that, so it looks, and we're trying to improve what hasn't worked. It's like,
I mean, the management scheme that we have now is we had an overuse problem, driven in part because of uncontrolled parking.
right,
We went through a citizens group. We all decided that we're kind of using the Baxter State Park model, which is you control use by controlling the amount of parking that was available. You need to deploy some tools to be able to do that without having somebody standing out there every day of the year. Because nobody can afford that, and the town can't afford that. We have a system that's worked quite well. All we're doing is changing the signs
And I spoke,
to
well,
make it aesthetically pleasing.
yeah, and I I didn't speak, I emailed Chief Purley, and he said that they are doing a robust enforcement, and they are ticketing. So, I mean, we have that in place. I think that's our strongest policy, is just making sure that
Right.
that's enforced.
That's what it's all about. is-
And the public has to know that it's illegal to park, which is the purpose of the signs.
Well, and I think the other piece is that maybe we should mention a little earlier is that we have somebody who will do the work, and we can ask to see what he thinks about where they're gonna go and what trees might be affected. Like, why don't we try to meet with Gary and have him lay out what he thinks is the best approach so that there is a limited amount of,
Is Gary
Impact.
going to put the signs in, do you think?
he put in the fence
Put in the fence?
for Eastern Greens.
Right, is he going to put in these signs or?
Well, I asked him if he would be interested.
Okay.
He said he would be interested. So, I mean, that's what they do for a job. Well, one of the many things they do. So maybe having Gary lay out where he thinks they would go, we would realize that very few of these might be in a spot that we feel is very critical, or we could move it under our discretion.
Well, I think we need to put the signs where, I mean, obviously, we don't want to be putting them right down where there's a tree root. But we need to put the signs where they're effective, which is the public can see, it's very clear where they can't park. That's priority number one. I don't think it takes a genius to figure that out. I mean, we already have the signs out there. We know it's working with enforcement. Police can enforce it because it's signed.
Yes.
Pretty much all we're doing is changing the quality of the sign and moving them back a little bit, because right now it looks pretty lousy. I mean, there's cockeye and,
Well, they've been hit a few times.
Yeah.
Had a few
Freeze
winters to
thaw.
go through.
snow plows.
So, in your, I guess I don't want to move too far afield or see if we can come to some consensus here. I like speaking to Gary and meeting with Gary. If we can, we do need to have a motion to approve the invoice from Jackson Ski Touring for the sign material, and I think we can I guess I don't want to jump and move past this 4x4, but I think that is the only solution here.
We should pay for the signs
Okay.
any which way.
And we should get them in pretty soon.
That we should do.
I just fear we're getting into analysis paralysis. July is on us almost. This is the main
Fourth of
time.
July, Labor Day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be putting these out in October because we bat this thing around for
Well,
6
August.
meetings.
Yeah, August is the pinch point of when this becomes an issue.
We have full capacity today. At Paul's.
And Pam, did you get your fern sign up?
No, I did. I wasn't sure that people were wanting me to do it, so
Oh.
I hesitate to do anything without you guys saying, go ahead.
I couldn't, I remember the discussion, but I think it's a great idea.
We'll try.
All of that, you know, it doesn't have to be like a formal garden sign, you know, these are new ferns that were planted. and
Right.
Don't put your picnic basket on.
Or don't let your dog go through. There's a little sign, the little metal green signs we have, fences. I keep putting them back, and they're behind logs. So I think dogs must just be going over and getting tangled. And I'm like,
Okay.
just initial, you know. Has anybody been down there to see them at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So far, they're alive. I think they hit the wood chips, though, because they get a little.
Not for a shortage of water, for certain.
Well, not sure, but I think they hit the wood chips underneath, because I didn't see them, and that takes the nitrogen out. So, see what happens.
Do you wanna do the signs to Jackson's Door?
Yeah, but I do agree that we could bat this around forever, but the point is that we need to control the parking there. We've been moving in this direction. The solution, or the implementation of these signs is that they need to be mounted on a robust post.
Yep.
And if we can vote,
Can we put them on the fence posts?
They're
I
pretty
think they'd
low.
be too low, yeah.
Yeah, I looked at it, you could do it, but I don't think,
You
you know.
don't think it'd be effective?
Visual, well, I think they would, but definitely, I mean, the hill's sloping away. The posts are what, 3.5
Yeah,
feet
somewhere.
tall?
Quite low.
So you're kind of looking down at this, and because we want to set them back so that they don't get plowed over. You know, we've already seen what happens when the signs are too close to the road. But I do think we may need a professional group to come in and help us, because we're gonna hit bedrock and everything else.
Did you have an estimate on the cost of the 4x4s?
We gotta look at Lowe's quick.
Yeah.
I looked it up, I forget what it is right now. But there are 19 no parking, we'll need one for the handicap, so that's 20. And then this guy will go up to Prospect. Where the parking lot is at Prospect. We'll just put it at this would be the north end, yeah, of the existing lot, so that people know they can go up. I think you're gonna want like an 8-foot, because if you vary it 2 or 3 feet, you still want it to be about 5 feet tall when you put these in.
That's what I was thinking, 5 and 3,
Yeah.
3 in the ground. It's pretty solid.
And you can pour some concrete around the base, just to,
That, and screw a cross arm on.
I mean, Jackson, I mean, some of the, well, this guy is big, the 20-minute one, but the Ski Touring Foundation puts theirs out on 4x4s, and somebody's just going out with a hand, you know, clamp thing and digging a hole and putting them in there, they're staying up fine.
Are they using pressure treated?
Yeah.
They first put some on a little metal post like they're up there, and these things are just too heavy for it.
These are beasts. Got a good heft.
I had a bunch of pricing on my phone for something. The email is not loading, but I'm recalling like a 4x4 16-footer was around $12 a piece.
Seems low for 16 footer.
Maybe that was for,
Yeah.
anyway.
And we should bevel the top if that's possible, just a little, so it tends to shed water or snow. It just
Yeah.
increases the shelf life of the post.
An 8-footer is $13.
They're heavy,
Yeah.
a 16 would be real heavy before you cut it.
Yeah.
So the 8 feet would be enough.
Yeah, 3 and 5. 3 in the ground is probably about, if you're lucky.
Because the current signs, I would say, are 4 feet off the ground,
$260.
No, they're probably closer to 5 feet up.
maybe, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we pay the invoice to Jackson Ski Touring. That's what I'd like to do,
For 900.
for $900, if that's the amount that they want.
I would second that.
And just to clarify, I pay that out of the Wentworth Wildcat Fund. Okay. And the additional posts, if we were to that post, that'd be an additional 260.
Yeah. I mean,
I'll make a second motion that we proceed to buy the post in the $260 to $320 range,
Yeah.
because I don't know what exactly it's
You
gonna
want to get
be,
a couple
but,
extra too.
so I'll amend your motion to just add on buying the post as well, as a friendly amendment.
Okay,
We're gonna need a post.
saves paperwork.
Any other discussion on that?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the second question is, do we want to make a motion to hire, what's the firm again?
Eastern Greens.
Eastern Greens, to help put them in?
Would he be bidding that, or would?
I don't think he did any. I think we had a bid, but I think
Yeah, I
he.
think we need the estimate in order to
Yeah.
do it, yeah.
Okay.
I think we should do a couple of test pits and see how it goes.
I think some of them we could do ourselves. Some of them, if we hit bedrock, it's gonna be a different ballgame.
Right, but some of it's gonna go in. I mean, there's gotta be some dirt up there someplace.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I guess,
I'd be leaning towards us meeting Gary and having Gary discuss it with us.
And tell him to be careful with the tree roots. He would. I
Yeah,
think he
I
would.
mean, I think it goes without saying at this point.
He was very careful about that tree out there with
Yeah,
the irrigation.
this is Gary Spears from Eastern
Yes.
Greens, yeah.
Yeah, he was very particular about that tree over there.
So I think that's the first step. We
Okay.
want to make a motion to accept their proposal or however we want to look at it, but I think first is to have him offer his opinion, make sure he does want to do it with the conditions that we're passing along.
how, I guess, how would we word that?
Make a motion that we hire Eastern Greens to make a contractual agreement with Eastern Greens to insert the post.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pretty simple.
yeah,
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Would it be enter into a contract or get a proposal and then, or is it, that's taking too much time?
Well, I
Only if
think,
that's something that's
he would
in cost.
propose and which we would then look at the contract, but
Yeah.
But our next meeting's not gonna be till August, obviously.
Well, I guess if we're willing to accept his proposal, if he's doing
Yeah.
it for free.
Right.
well, I don't think he's gonna do it for free, but there's a cost attached to it.
Let me retract my, do you have a rough idea what the cost would be?
No, I do not. No idea.
I mean, what I was gonna propose is to proceed to set up an arrangement with him not to exceed X. And then if it exceeds that, then we'd have to meet again.
Sure, I don't know what the number would be, I can't even ballpark it, to be honest.
What is, I guess on the high end, I'm just trying to think of contracting that I've just done, that on the high end of using machine work is $175 an hour
Right,
to run a machine, and
that's on the high end too, but that's average. I guess.
say 19 hours, an hour on each post.
Yeah, but I mean, what if they did 5 of them by hand?
You know,
I mean, I don't.
Well, he isn't gonna know until he starts to dig.
Well,
Well, will you give us
no,
an
he's
estimate
he's
or
gonna
give us
have an idea.
Yeah.
He'll have an idea, I think we're just.
Because I don't know if there's an estimate or an hourly rate. Don't know.
I don't know if he would know exactly.
Mm.
You're asking someone to, it's like, are you gonna find dirt, or are you gonna hit ledge? Are you digging a hole, or are you drilling it and
But
driving in a
He
spike?
did the fence though, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
so, I mean.
You know what it
I-
costs when they put the fence in?
No idea.
Well, I guess we should get a number before we put any numbers on the table.
Right.
I think we're committed to doing it. I would like for him to do it since he's offered
Mhm.
and expressed the interest to do it.
And he did the other fence.
He's familiar with the site, yeah.
Yeah, we did the other fence. I mean, again, I think the simplest thing is to say, let's meet Gary.
Okay. Well, if you talk to him and set up something this week, I can
Yeah.
meet with both of you. And I know this is going slower than I wanted to, but we'll just have to authorize at next meeting. Is that so?
Well, I was thinking in terms of, putting something that gives one of you two the ability to work out a contract with him that does not exceed. If it exceeds, then we have to come back in August. If it doesn't exceed,
Right.
then we can proceed ahead and get this done, because if it's August, by the time he's got that on his work schedule, we're talking about
Right,
getting these in
right.
about Labor Day.
Right. $2,500? I mean, is that enough?
I'll make that motion,
That's
not,
it.
not to exceed $2,500.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's right, you don't know, but
Well,
that sounds
that
reasonable.
also means if he said for $2,500 and he gets 11 of them done before our next meeting, then we say like, okay, it's gonna cost $600 more to do the last 6 or something. It doesn't lock us into saying like, oh, we can't do anything because he thinks it's gonna be more. We could say, okay, well, we can do this level and then,
And we'd be providing the post and the signs and the... Because I think it will also be important that somebody comes in and is able to get them nice and straight.
yeah. Well,
If I put them in, they're gonna look like this.
yeah. Well, the other part is you have somebody who can maintain them.
Yeah.
Knowing how they put them in, too.
Unless
So-
Gary has a supplier for the other kind of wood.
I asked him, he didn't.
didn't-
And he has been maintaining the fence as it's had issues too, so.
Let's take a step back here for a second. We'll have a price for him. Will we get the post and give it to him, or will we ask him?
We can provide the post.
We'll provide the post. So, we've made a motion and approved, if I'm corrected, well, did we take a vote on
Yes.
last year?
We've
Voted to pay Jackson's invoice, and we voted to purchase the post.
Correct.
So I'm gonna make a motion that the commission has the ability to negotiate a price not to exceed $2,500 with Eastern Greens to insert
We're now gonna have the most expensive no parking signs in the North
Yeah.
Country.
Gotta pick a number.
Oh, no, but I'm just saying, we're starting to, it's grown.
Oh, yeah.
This whole thing is grown. Now, there's other ways to do it, the concrete bases. We can get Coleman with a 2-yard dump up there, whenever. Even if we had 2-foot deep holes, and you take the rebar, you drill the bottom of the post, put rebar through, make an X,
Yep.
set the post, pour the concrete.
Who's doing that?
All right, I mean, exactly, but I mean, I'm just saying there's alternatives to just having a hole for this post to go in.
Do you know if the highway department has an auger to drill?
I don't believe they do. I think they just pound in whatever metal
Yeah.
posts they put up for their signage.
Well, we're not creating a problem by creating a pathway for Eastern Greens to be the one to possibly put these in. We don't have to accept, and he doesn't have to accept anything. We're just allowing an opportunity to have a discussion and have a number. And if we're comfortable with it, we can proceed. And if we decide we're not comfortable with it, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Gary-
Move into your own homes.
Gary doesn't have to commit to doing the job either. I mean, so I think we're trying to make it so if it does look like it works out, we don't have to go back to a meeting to hold this up. And if we don't like it, and Gary doesn't like it, then we're not going that pathway, in which case we could do something else.
So, we have a motion to authorize $2,500.
I was gonna guess them.
I think Dick brings up a good point though, is
That's,
$3,500 to the sign. I mean, of course, if you went and bought these signs on the market, you know, a quality sign like this, you'd probably spend $150 a sign at least.
But the nice thing is we do have a fund that's just for the wildcat.
Yeah. And I don't think it's unreasonable, it's not expected that we go out and volunteer every single one of our hours to go do this, particularly where we may not have the tools to do it.
I think it's gonna take longer than you think.
I think you're right.
As a volunteer, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was out in the farm field, I would say something different, but that is gonna be a problematic
And then you have
area.
to walk away and actually be responsible for it.
Yeah. I mean, what do we pay in the end for the little kiosk sign?
that was, I believe, 1,200 installed in materials.
We're talking about $400 here in materials between the post and the signs, roughly. And there's a lot more of them here to put in the ground.
Yeah.
Yes,
Between the post and the signs,
Well, the
Just
post-
the-
1,400 you said?
well, it's 270, roughly, was it 260 for the
1,200.
PT? 9.
It's like 1,200.
Because there'll be 20 signs he has to put in. We can go do the Prospect Farm one, that's,
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty certain I'll go up and do that. Once we get the gate moved and the area fixed up. Because I don't think there's much bedrock in that area.
The old Jackson Falls.
So I made a motion not to exceed, need it, and I don't,
Right, I mean, we're talking about this number, and for all we know, you could say I'll do it for half.
yeah,
Or maybe twice the amount, so it's, we're not able to meet every time something comes up, so this is just giving us an opportunity.
we have a premier spot. We're trying to make it look
Yeah,
representative of Jackson.
yeah, and it's hard to come up with volunteer time to do something
Yeah.
like that. Like you said, if it was along the side of Carter Notch Road by Dickerson's Field or something, you know, digging in a field, but, and it's contentious, so I think it's not something we need to be ones out there actually doing it. Someone who's a professional and knows how to work around trees, roots, rocks.
yeah,
It's like, part of the concern is that something could be damaged. Well, then you hire a professional who is accustomed to working in those circumstances and can recommend why he would and why he wouldn't do something, or could stand behind the fact that he did do something and say, this is a fitting way to install this. So,
We just need to have somebody out there so that he understands where we need to have the signs put. Because that's been worked out with the police and the effectiveness. I think you know, somebody can be out there to help him. But essentially it's just a proper array from the bridge on Valley Cross and then coming down. And this handicap has to be on the northern edge of the Jackson lot.
well, we should have something on our end that's in writing.
Yeah.
To make sure that that's, I'm not gonna verbally communicate that. We should have something in writing that clearly defines
Yeah.
what the police want and what the expectation is.
okay.
So I've made the motion.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Any other further discussion? Dick? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Abstaining. Okay. So does that carry us? We,
4, yeah.
Yeah, you, four is
okay,
quorum.
all
Or the
right,
quorum's here,
All right.
actually my vote counts, even though it's an abstention.
that's right. Okay,
My presence counts.
I'm remembering my process questions. Okay. All right. If you can reach out to Gary, I will try to make time this week.
Yeah, anyone else wants to?
Yeah.
I'll be gone Tuesday through Sunday.
Meeting tomorrow?
I'm sorry, Wednesday,
Okay,
but tomorrow's a
I'd
holiday.
be happy to show up if possible.
I'll reach out to Gary.
And if you're gonna be up there next week, the following week,
I'll send you an email regardless.
yeah, I'll
When I
be,
talk to him.
I'll be here Monday through Thursday, then I'm gone for a week,
Okay,
from the 14th to the
I'll
20th.
send out an email to the whole group.
Because if he's gonna go and put these in when I'm gone, I wanna make sure you get the signs.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
got them at the
we'll
house.
have it all.
Okay. Thank you. Picnic table location, the picnic table that was broken at the highest location has been removed, and the table that was in the middle has been relocated to the upper section, so there's nothing in the middle now. And so just as a report on progress, not progress, but just the current status of how the tables are. I think we can move on. Any other Jackson Falls? Are there any other questions you wanted to?
Well, I don't know if you want me to bring it up now, I don't want to necessarily hold up your flow, but I can come back to that at the end, or I can go now, whatever you want.
Is it the falls?
Yeah. Okay, well, so the concerns that were raised by the person that did speak to me was, concerns about the porta potty. It causes a lot of traffic to go up there. And that was the point of the pictures that I was sending you, because the person sent me a picture of when the porta potty was first installed, and the little path was like this. And then if you go down there, and I took a picture of the way it is now, the path's more like this. So there's been an encroachment on the growth that's up there to the detriment of that area. And I did notice too that there was a lot of debris that came down over the winter, and it all got removed. It was right out in that open area where the porta potty is, and I looked back at the action plan, and it said leave the woody debris. So maybe in future we need to communicate better with the town and with the highway department to say, hey, can we just leave stuff? Keep it off the trails, that sort of thing. And as to the porta potty, I mean, this person was basically saying that they thought it was causing traffic, damage to the undergrowth, and it just wasn't good for that area up there.
But not having a porta potty up there affects a much greater area, the whole neighborhood. So however we deal with the porta potty there, let's deal with it. Yeah.
And my suggestion has been, as you probably may recall, is to put it down where the big parking lot is, off the side where you put it off the side where the emergency entrance is, be right down there, right off the little path. Just a thought.
My only concern with that I don't think DOT is going to allow that, because that is like placing a structure there.
But it would be behind the park, in other words, not up in the parking area, but actually, where the emergency road comes in, and off to the side, on the right-hand side, there's a grassy area. So it would be below the parking area. Just thinking, somebody else might have a better suggestion.
On the downhill side of the
Right,
parking area?
it's relatively flat there. In other words, there's a little path that comes down from the parking area, that comes up to where where the picnic table was and the emergency exit, entrance and all that, and off to, so if you're coming down the little path on the right-hand side, it's just a grassy area. And we reseeded it all back in. At one point, it was all,
So this
people
is
were putting their
closer to-
towels down.
I'm trying to think let's see, here's the cars parked in here. This
Here's,
is the emergency,
this
this
is
is the
the
path.
right,
Oh,
You have
okay.
it right there.
right.
No, I
There's
don't-
drainage right here.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
not.
but the thing is, you could lift it up. I mean, it could be,
Well, there's a culvert here though.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good spot.
well, I think I have to look at it. Let
Okay.
me see.
Well, last time I was there was active water running through there.
Yeah, there is. That's like the wettest, one of the wetter spots where
Yeah.
Well,
we've already planted stuff to grow there.
I think the
Reach
too
for-
much grass,
encroaching,
yeah.
I mean, that's,
It's so close to the river as well if it was to, this thing is too exposed there as well as anything else.
Exposed in what way? Because people will see it.
Well, just elements even. Isn't it more exposed to wind?
Whatever we do, we're gonna have the impacts of people, wherever it is. Yeah, we think, okay, move it here, and then something else will come up.
Yeah.
I kind of like the position up there at the north end of everything. It's kind of out of the way, but still available, there's handicap access. Yes, I'm sorry, the little path is definitely, well, if anything, it's gonna be as wide as a wheelchair, because it's handicap access. So, I don't know if we can outthink people and their impact on that area. We're trying really hard to renaturalize it, control the population. I think that'll work. It's good, if they can't park, they're not gonna walk too far to look at the falls, because people aren't like that. They're gonna wanna park right there, and if you can't park there, they may go, go up to Prospect Farm. I don't know.
Right.
But I'm not sure that we can really mitigate everything people do to that area. And, I'd kind of keep the porta potty where it is myself.
The other thing too is that people are parking in the resident parking area to use the porta potty. So,
Yeah, I don't think you should move it. I don't even think it's,
I think it's worthwhile just to look at the other
but
spots.
we know what it looks like.
but I think, well, I guess in terms of vegetation, that's a good candidate for the sod product, because we did increase traffic there because we created a target, but now that we've established that there's a pathway, we can define the shoulders with the sod and try to regain some of that vegetation, but
Pam, I think you're gonna get huge blowback that you aren't thinking about. Right now, when you come in to park, your view is out over the falls.
Yeah.
If you come in to park and you got a great big porta potty sticking out there, you wait to see what the public response is gonna be. It's gonna be nasty.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I think if there wasn't a lot of traffic in the area that the porta potty is now, so this location looks good because doesn't have a lot of traffic. You're bringing the item that's bringing the traffic, so that's also gonna get worn in wider and all the rest. So it's like Dick was saying, that's part of the process of having a porta potty, is that we're putting it there because people need to be using it. And when they use it, there's an impact. So all we can do is, like what Ben said, is try to reduce the impact by buffering it or protecting those shoulders. So where you know what's going to happen, no matter where you put it, you're going to create that path. It's going to be wider than the path used to be because more people are using it. So a combination of techniques to protect that path is
And you also have to think about the aesthetics.
right.
Your welcome gate.
Yeah,
It's a porta potty.
it's a good spot for it. And I don't like having it on all fronts, but I can understand the purpose of having it. Keeps people from, I've had 3 customers on the falls, and I've seen people, cross the river, go to the bathroom in the woods on private property. So,
That's the problem they ran into at Diana's Bath. That people were out crapping in neighbors' yards and everything else.
oh, yeah. Or just even the shoulder of the river, it's everywhere.
We have a highly desirable asset. We ain't,
Right.
it's the reason why I got put in the wild and scenic program.
Yeah.
And people are gonna come and they're gonna wanna come. We can't make that go away. We're trying to manage it properly.
Yeah, I think we've overthought
If
it
you
already.
get rid of it, we're gonna create, I think as Dick points out, you're gonna create a problem that's far bigger. And I wasn't here when they decided to put it up there, but from everything I've heard, there was a debate about where it was and which way it looked, and it's right in there with the trees, it's nicely blended in. To stick it right out in the middle is the biggest eyesore coming up.
Yeah.
I think it's
I'll let
also-
you answer those phone calls.
I think it's also easier to service up there,
Yeah.
like it can be pumped
Well, right
and
now,
cleaned.
they're backing, just so you know, they're backing up the path to get in there because we've got the big, well, wood chips path on the Valley Cross. So they're going up and over all those rocks and that's not happening.
Are they going
That's the way, that's the only
over
way
the
they can
wood
access.
curbs there?
Yeah, well, they're going, I've seen
Are you
them.
sure?
I've seen them backing into it.
All the way when they placed it, or?
When they're changing it, they have to go, that's the only way they can get in.
Right.
Because of the wood chip
Changing it
path.
or servicing it?
Servicing it. So they back in
Hmm.
over those rocks
To pump it?
to do whatever they do, yeah. I didn't see them pump it, I just saw them back way in.
Okay. I guess we can clarify with Garland, we can just ask them to pump it from Valley
Yeah.
Cross, or,
Yeah. Or whichever.
So when they pump it, do they just like use it like a septic tank and empty it?
yeah, they just have it's exactly the same. They just
Liquid
have a
goes out
valve.
and they put liquid back in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so they've been backing up over up that area from Carter. I've been saw them do that.
Well, we can, I mean, they're a small company, you can,
Yeah, I assumed that
Request.
the wood chip pile was on the way for some reason, but now that I understand, it's more like a septic tank.
Yeah. Okay. I'll follow up with Julie on what how often they're doing that, and I guess have them comment on that, 'cause okay.
if you want.
Okay. Now that we've done that,
Sorry.
is there anything else? Or can we move on to grazing? Grazing?
That old raisin,
Yeah.
used to be, used to be.
Yeah. Um,
It wasn't always this beautiful back there.
I'm trying to let stuff grow in the community, like one part grow in the community garden, I want to see what comes up. Just what's there, naturally. We've had a lot of wild strawberries,
Mm.
and there's a lot of clover and that sort of thing.
Any other community garden? Okay.
And they are looking at a potential location for the new fire department, would be the parking lot. That's part of the discussion,
Where?
In the
Tennis
the
court,
old,
tennis
the
court.
old tennis court.
That can become a fire.
that's where they want to.
Someone
One-
made that
That's
suggestion.
one of the suggestions.
That's right.
I was wondering, why wouldn't they put it up the road here, where the town, works things anyway?
I don't know, that's beyond our purview.
Just,
Wildcat River, I just received an email this morning from the voluntary river assessment program of setting that up, so I'm going to schedule a call with him about setting up a monitoring program. So I'll have more on that next month.
Who is that you're working with in DS?
I think they just got a new director of that. Ryan Leo. Nothing for conservation easements.
Oh, can I
Sure.
stay with?
Jump in.
Well, I think I spoke about invasives along the river a month ago. And having further thought about that, I think that we should, as a conservation commission, should come up with a management plan for invasive species in the town, not just along the river there, because up Route 16, we've got purple loosestrife, we've got barberry, we've got bittersweet, and of course knotweed forever. But all of those, all over town, and I don't think if we come up with a good plan, it doesn't have to always be on the town property. We can talk to neighbors if they have an infestation of barberry that they're not thinking about. At least we could bring their consciousness up to be aware of the invasives. But I think it's all part of my idea to get the Conservation Commission thinking broader, more inclusive of the town. Done a nice job at Prospect Farm. We're trying like hell at the Falls, but we've got the whole town to look at. So I think we should, in our spare time, in our time, whatever time frame, come up with a program for invasive species. Thank you.
Would that be as a, that the state frequently offers, there's grant funding for spraying. Would we be acting as sort of the coordinator there, or?
Yeah, it's bring people up with us, educate them. I don't know what programs would be available to the town, to the municipality, but if it's just to individual landowners, we can help them, bring them along. So, I don't know what's out there for grants, but
I think that might be a thing that I can ask the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions if they have any guidance on that, of setting that up.
that'd be cool.
Okay. I'll send them an email.
One way to maybe approach it would be, first you'd hire a consultant who would go out and try to identify where all the problems are. Because you can't build a plan if you don't know what the location of the problem and the species. We all know generically, we can point here, there, everywhere. But if you're looking at a town-wide strategy, I think the first thing you'd want is to identify the species and the locations, and then from that, you would develop what the management suggestions would or would not be.
I've already walked along the river from the falls
Yeah.
down with a biologist who does just that. That's really what got me started.
Yeah.
I've also spoken with a eradicator whose whole chase from down by Durham. But this is what he does.
Yeah.
Is deal with it. So I know that there's good input. He's always willing to, come up and offer a program to the town if it got to that.
Right.
If it got to eradication, he knows when to do it, he likes to do it. what is it, not when anything's in blossom, to try to stay away from bees and pollinators. So he does it up until blossom time, and then after until you can in the late fall. Anyway, he was a sensitive eradicator. So that's a good, you know, we have two good people that I think, we'd have to get to that point
Right,
where it would be important to, you know, you don't draw these people in
right.
on a whim. I mean,
I think Dick has a point that if you educate the public first, then, you know, they know what they look for to some degree. They locate some of it and have some questions, and then someone comes up.
right, because somebody might look at the pretty purple flower and, no, it's not lupin. It's,
Right.
it's an
Right.
invasive. It's purple loosestrife. And you want to cut it off early. Leave it. So anyway, yeah.
I think we caught it up at Prospect. Last time I was up there, it was, of course, that was spray treated properly.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I'll, that seems realistic, something I can handle, so.
Yeah, and I feel like the state has something. I mean, it seems like we could almost paste it in a way to,
I mean, they have
Email.
all of their bulletins,
right.
and I think we could probably utilize e-news a little
Right.
better, just,
Bring people up to speed,
yeah, okay.
get the interest up.
A good first step, but I really think that, you know, like, knotweed, unless you really have a pretty holistic strategy,
Mm.
neighbor X does it, neighbor Y doesn't, pretty soon, neighbor Y stuff is back on neighbor X's property,
Mhm.
because that stuff spreads like crazy. And purple stripes the same thing.
But you also can't force anyone to do
No.
anything, so I think you just have to get people to have an understanding
Absolutely.
and then see where you go from there. And maybe you can.
And the town's done a pretty good job, like there was a lot of it along Wilson Road and Moody Farm Road, and that last treatment has slowed down its ability to spread, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's still,
It pops up.
all along Thornhill, the backside of Thornhill it's coming up, and
You got it on the pond out here by the golf course, and yeah, and you go down to a Storyland just before the parking lot, it's just a massive.
I feel like they must have sprayed down there, part of it.
I wouldn't be
because-
surprised, but early in this year, it was just a huge, it's probably a quarter acre before you get to the.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not skipping anything, I don't think we have, there's no conservation easement
No, I didn't.
thing, there's no wetlands permits or notices from DES. Um, Riverwalk, 98% done,
Looks great.
95. Got it done just in time to get rained out for 4th of July, or fireworks, but it'll look beautiful for Labor Day, so.
Ben, I was talking to Ellen, because I know Ski Touring Foundation helped pay for the bridge.
Yes.
Do you know if they improved the drainage underneath that bridge? Just so it could take higher flow?
Well, I'll give you a synopsis of what happened is that the initial goal was to have a longer bridge in there.
Yeah.
But when we started taking it apart, realized that it was going to need, we weren't just going to be able to lift it up
Yeah.
and do a temporary fix on it. So took all the decking off, pulled out the existing timbers. Matt installed a 8 by, a big timber on the downriver side, and then rebarred that quite deep down to anchor that, and then squared off the bottoms of the posts there and pinned the posts to that, and then On the far end, the initial goal or the initial plan was to install concrete piers. It was a weird sizing that wasn't going to work. So instead built a large cribbing filled with riprap wrapped in the tech fabric that raised the bridge up
Okay.
significantly.
I'll have to go down and take a look.
In the process of doing that, just raising it up, it has improved the flow,
Yeah,
or visually improved where you could see where it was pooling, and now it's more of a bit of a straight shot. So
But it looks like it's still the same level as it goes up, is that what you're saying?
it was raised to the same elevation as the downriver side. So before it was canted like this, and Ski Touring requested that it be 14 feet so they could actually drive the groomer across it, so that they can move the machine across it now. So, and it has been.
A project?
Well, it was a fun build, and I really enjoyed working with Matt. He's very professional, very skilled, problem solving oriented, and got a lot done. So no material was moved off site. We brought in, we were able to repurpose all of the dirt that was dug out from the trail, and it was used in the parking areas and repurposed along the trail. All of the benches, the lumber for the benches has been replaced and stained, and one of the benches that was in an area where the channel had shifted, so what had previously been a water view was now, after we had cleared out all the sumacs that had come in, the ferns have come back very beautifully. So the bench had a very close view of a bunch of ferns. So we just rotated the bench 180 degrees, and now it has a beautiful view of the fields and the mountains in town. So I think it's a serious aesthetic upgrade to the Riverwalk.
Good job.
Yeah.
Looks good from the road.
Yeah, and it all came together. So I'm still waiting for something bad to happen, but
With all the rain we've had and it hasn't
When will
happened
lightning
yet.
strike?
Yeah.
well, yeah. And Jackson's Ski Touring has been a very good partner. Ellen did not hesitate to jump in and fund the materials for the bridge, which was outside of our budget and could have been a huge impediment to completing. So thank you to them.
Great.
Ben, thanks for the update. Getting back to Jackson Falls for a second. We pulled the material that was used to hold the sawdust to get up to the porta potty for handicapped.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Yes.
And we had a discussion 2 meetings back, but I don't think we ever came to any conclusion about how we would make that walkway up wheelchair accessible.
I think to be very legitimate, we're going to need to apply for a permit, a shoreline impact permit, because it's installing, even though it's a stone material and it does drain, they classify it as an impervious surface. So it would be adding an impervious surface. But I think that's probably the only solution to have it truly ADA compliant surface outside of compacted soil.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
We'll take that on another day.
Yes. But that stone dust material is a good product. And properly installed and drained, it will last a while. And I don't think that there's an issue of that getting washed out there, so it would be a long-term solution there. But it is installing what is technically considered an impervious surface.
We can put that maybe as a recommendation. I'm working on the Jackson Falls management,
Mhm.
plan, but that's, okay.
I guess other business, I have a second set of keys for our cabinets over there.
Ooh,
Would you like those as secretary?
do I have to? I mean, I will.
And you have to wear them when you.
Exactly, like interview
It's like, where am I
in
gonna
a
put
spring
them?
little return.
Yeah, my keychain has grown infinitely. I used to just have one key.
People keep giving me their keys, I'm like,
Um, Okay. Any other business? No? Okay.
I make a motion
To
to
rent.
go home and eat.
Right?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Brian, do you want to take
Yes.
these two signs here?